What is going on, everyone? I am Mike. Welcome back to Network Podcast. Today is Friday, February 12th, and I am joined by Holden DePardo, and we are going to unravel what is going on with the iPhone 12 mini. Is it selling well? Is it not selling well? We're hopefully going to get to the bottom of that. We're going to find out what Dan Riccio is doing now that he's leading AR and VR development, in addition to watching Hyundai back that up and no longer working on Apple Car. Holden, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. New Mario game came out today, so I'm always happy when that happens. Bowser's Fury is pretty good so far.
Yes, it is Mario Day, and Nintendo just made available their special red and blue edition Nintendo Switch, which I was very fortunate enough to find one locally, actually. And I'm going to go pick it up later on. I did get it for my wife for Valentine's Day. Hopefully she likes it. And if she doesn't, really, it's going to be mine anyways. So it could be worse. It certainly could be worse. Holden, let's start off our first news story with the iPhone 12 mini rumors. And the rumors are coming out. This was reported via Mac Rumors, if I'm not mistaken. And it's really talking about how the iPhone 12 mini is not selling well in that very first segment or first half of January 2021. Now, for those who are listening to this, for context, this phone is $100 less than the iPhone 12 6.1 inch phone. It packs basically all the same feature set, just with a smaller battery. Now, this is kind of an interesting rumor because when this phone first was announced, I think many people thought that this was going to be one of the phones that sold the best because it really was, again, a copy of the iPhone 12, except for in smaller form factor. Now, there's been a couple news points floated around that this phone isn't selling well. I don't know if this means that Apple is going to maybe kill the phone. Maybe they're going to change it. Holden, what are your thoughts?
It's definitely, based on the sales numbers that we have or the estimations, it's not selling well as the other iPhones. It definitely seems less popular than I would have expected it to be, but I'm not surprised it's not the most popular iPhone 12 model. I think the larger screen sizes are more important to people, and I don't know if prices, because a lot of people are saying that this is going to be the best selling of the 12 models because the price was the cheapest. But I feel like when you're buying the most recent iPhone, you're already in that upper echelon of iPhone prices that it's probably not your biggest consideration. You're probably at that point looking for the phone that you want as opposed to the cheapest way to get into it. If you wanted a cheaper iPhone, you would get 11 or a 10R or an 8 or an SE. There are other options there for you. So I'm not super surprised that it's not the most popular, but I am surprised it's as low as it is. But even then, this is still a good selling phone. If it is 5%, that's still millions and millions of phones and a lot of profit on top of it. So I feel like this is still a good phone and it's probably still performing financially well for Apple. I don't think they're losing money on this by any means.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good point. You have to put this in context. So Apple sold like 60 million phones last quarter. If this was 5%, right, that's going to be roughly in the neighborhood of 3 million phones in a 3-month time span. There are certainly some manufacturers who don't sell 3 million phones, of course, across the entire year. So selling 3 million phones in a 3-month time span for Apple, I think it's going to be okay. They're not going to go under.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe. Well,
yeah, who knows? This could be the end of Apple because the iPhone 12 mini is that is certainly funny. Now, when I saw the phone, or when I did get it for the channel to review, I liked it a lot. I just had the problem where I felt like my hands were cramping up going from the iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Pro at the time, to the iPhone 12 mini. It just felt like it was too small for my hands to really to get comfortable typing on it. But I think that's probably like an unrealistic use case that not many people are going from the 6.1 inch iPhone from last year down to the iPhone 12 mini just because it's smaller. They're maybe upgrading from a different phone altogether. Maybe they're coming from the iPhone 8, the iPhone 6, and they're looking for something that's comparable. Maybe people are buying it for their children it's their first phone. Who knows? So the addressable market, I think, for what this phone or who this phone is targeted for, I think is maybe a little bit unknown, and people are giving it, I think, an unfair rap. But we'll see what happens in September when presumably the phone gets updated for, the next 12S or iPhone 13, whatever they're going to call it. Who knows?
Yeah, I would be very surprised if there wasn't a 12S or 13 or whatever it's going to be called mini variant. I'd be very surprised if they didn't have that.
Yeah, I would be very surprised too. That would. I think that what was the name of the phone that was released along the iPhone 5S? Was it the iPhone 5C?
The 5C, yeah.
Like that just felt like a different phone because it was a different material. Even though it did have colors, it didn't have Touch ID, right?
No, it was an iPhone 5 with not plastic but polycarbonate
Yeah,
back, which is
yeah,
plastic.
which is plastic.
Yeah.
It's a fancy name for
Um,
plastic.
Very fancy plastic. Yeah, I had one of those for one day because there's something weird where like contractually, this is the time I like the 2-year contracts. Contractually, I wanted the 5S, but I already traded my phone. They didn't end up having it. So I ended up getting a 5C for a day and then went back to the Apple Store the next day to like switch it out for the 5S. So it was something weird like that. I don't remember the exact details, but I had a 5C for one day and then went to the 5S. And you're right. It's a completely different feeling phone. It's a different experience. It very much felt like they were trying to make a more affordable iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
but the 5S still packed all the new features and all the other kind of stuff.
And it
This
was
isn't that.
aluminum.
You're right.
In
Yeah,
the
it's aluminum versus plastic. Yeah.
Yeah, here it's the same phone, same material, or at least it has the same feel of the same material when you're having it in your hands or when you hold it in your hands,
Mhm.
which is interesting. I think that I think it really has to do with who they're targeting this phone for. Maybe not necessarily not that people don't like it. It's just again the addressable market. The people who they think wants the phone is smaller than what the analysts think is what the analysts hope that the
Mhm.
phone is going to be.
I also think that the iPhone 11 is still the best selling iPhone as well. Am I wrong? I don't, I'm just spitballing here. I'm pretty sure. And if that's the case, maybe Apple doesn't expect their most recent iPhone to be their best selling iPhone.
That can certainly be true, right? And that makes a lot of sense because, um, even though they have a large number of phones, so you point this out in the first time that we recorded, because people get phones, through many different ways. But they buy them in the store, they finance them, they get them through the carriers. Not everyone buys the latest model iPhone every year. There's a large number of
Mhm.
people. I would probably think that it's the fair majority of people who are upgrading are not getting the newest phones. They might be buying a phone that's 1 year old because those phones come down in price as they cascade as they lengthen in the
Mhm.
number of years they've been available.
There's also the good enough mentality. I have an
Yeah.
iPhone 10R, and I used to be the person who bought a new iPhone every year, from the iPhone 4 to the iPhone 6S. I skipped, but I had every iPhone from iPhone 4 to iPhone 7.
Yeah.
And it's just because why not buy every year? There's huge upgrades year on year, and we're not there. Like that doesn't happen anymore. iPhone 10R is still an awesome device. It's still, I think, going to outclass a lot of Android phones. Maybe not the top tier ones, but at that price range, it's, I think, the best you can get. So
Yeah.
there's not really a need to buy the latest and greatest unless you really want to take advantage of like the best camera and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and also there's a global pandemic going around where people don't necessarily, they might not have the job security that they thought they had before.
Mhm.
They might not have the need to go buy the best iPhone with the best cameras. So there's a lot of factors that go into place, which maybe those are being considered, maybe they're not, but I don't know that. I would
Yeah.
think that probably if you were upgrade eligible and you were going to get a new phone, you might not necessarily buy the iPhone 12 Pro or the 12 Pro Max because what's going on in the world unless you have to, right? You're not traveling, you're not taking as many phone or pictures with your phone. You're not out and about. Why should I spend the money now? I'll wait till the things change in terms of environment or
Mhm.
when there's a new phone available. So it is
Yeah.
interesting. Anything else we want to say about the iPhone 12 mini for the third time's a charm?
I think we covered it all.
So this is the third time we were recording. One time I didn't hit record in the video. Second time my computer crashed, and third time, who knows? Let's keep going here, Holden. So the next story that we're talking about here, the next story that we're talking about here is Apple related to Apple Car News, and this is we have to come up with a segment name for this, and I think we'll think about that offline. But a segment name to talk about Apple Car News, just to give it a little bit delineation within the show and how that's going on. But the first thing is that a couple weeks ago, Apple was talking to Hyundai, saying, "Hey, Hyundai, we want you to help us build a car." Hyundai said, "Yeah, that's awesome," and they told everyone about it. Then Hyundai slowly walked that back, saying, "What car? What are you talking about?" I think they were a little gung ho with being a little bit too liberal with talking about what they were working on with Apple, and I think it's just they're new to the game, right? They're new to not the automobile game, but they're new to the confidentiality NDA. Sign your life away. You can't talk about this game. But now Apple seems to be with looking to other candidates to help build the Apple car. And, there are a number of different, so there's Hyundai, I think their Toyota was one of them that was in the running. Also BMW. Now, I think what's interesting is that Apple already has some partnership or some level of partnership with BMW, as the BMW, was it the 5 Series? This year is the first car that shows or had the Apple Car Key. I don't know. I think they're, this is a product where the more I talk about it and the more I talk about it with other people, this is not something that we're going to see in the next 18 months. I think it's farther than that away. But there needs to be these deals with these car manufacturers to help build all of these parts. Building a car is not easy. I mean, I don't know. Holden, what are your thoughts about this work with who they could partner with?
I mean, I don't know about the car industry to know like which, car manufacturers would be best for them. I'm sure they're talking to a lot of people, and everyone will have their own, or each company will have their own kind of advantages to them. But I'm really surprised that Hyundai thought they could just talk about this openly and not see repercussion for that. Like, did they know who they were talking to? Like, it's just weird. Everyone knows Apple is incredibly secretive, and they're not going to want to talk about a future product that's years out in the public sphere. So it's just like funny that like Hyundai thought they could do that. There's also this article too that was like Hyundai they didn't want Apple to have all the thunder. They were uncomfortable with Apple having all the marketing and the branding. And I'm like, again, who do you think you're talking to? Like, it's Apple. They're not going to be like an Apple and Hyundai partnership to bring you Apple Car. Like, they're going to just call it Apple Car, and that's everyone. It's all everyone's going to know about it. So I just think that Hyundai it seems like philosophically they were just on different wavelengths altogether. So that's not terribly surprising to see. But yeah, I don't know who they could partner with that would better meet that. I think that a higher end brand like a Mercedes or a BMW kind of speaks more to what we would expect an Apple car to be. But as we are talking about last week, with maybe this car as a service, maybe they want to make it so it is more of a Honda or more of a Kia kind of manufacturer on large scale for more affordably, and that then they just have people using these cars because they're everywhere, as opposed to like people buying a Tesla or something like that, like, and buying the status symbol. Like, maybe that could be different. So I think that there's like so much uncertainty too into what Apple wants to accomplish with their car and what their goal is, that it's hard to say who they're going to partner with.
There was a lot of rumors that went when Apple reached out to BMW to start working on Car Key, or what ended up being Car Key. So maybe they're just working with Hyundai on something else, right? Maybe they're just working with Hyundai, and it has nothing to do with their, in context, it has to do with their long-term plans for Apple Car. But maybe they're just going to bring Hyundai online to do another Car Key. They're going to bring out that feature. We don't know that, and I think that's the part where people get wrapped around the axle, to use a bad pun. Where like, oh, Apple's talking to, they're talking to, Honda or Toyota. Maybe they're just doing something else and they're bringing Car Key to more vehicles. That's certainly feasible. And
absolutely, yeah,
I guess I would think that if Apple was inking a partnership with a manufacturer to build parts, it would be a little bit more secretive than it has been, right? Like, there's just probably a little. There's a higher degree of confidentiality that people that are working on that, like, it's not just like Joe Bob, the sales manager from your local dealership. Like, oh, I heard that Apple's bringing a car. Like, there are people who are like, because literally what happens, the confidentiality agreement that you have to sign is very high, very detailed, and not everyone is privy to that. So I think maybe it's just people jumping the gun on this.
Yeah.
That is interesting. A lot more car news in here. Hyundai burned by negotiation, disclosure, walkbacks, and reframes. Well, we really talked about that, and how, again, Hyundai might not necessarily have the best attitude and maybe experience with this, and there's not necessarily a whole lot of them to. They might not be as involved and as the discussions where it's not what we think it is. Actually, I don't think we have to talk through that. Anything else you want to add to there?
No, I mean, I think it's it's a fun thing to speculate on,
Yeah.
just 'cause it's kind of their next frontier. But it's like the fact that they're in these negotiations and are leaving and all that, it's just so early in this process that
Yeah.
it's very, very hard to know for certain what's gonna happen.
So I think Holden, really, this is the culmination where you see Hyundai maybe being a little bit too liberal with talking about what they're doing with Apple. Is just classic car culture where people that work in the car industry, they talk about cars that they're showing off, when they bring cars to auto shows and like, this is a concept car, it's going to be out in 3 or 4 years. There's not necessarily a high degree of security and confidentiality around that, where working in Apple's realm, it's much different. And I think they got a little bit too excited.
That, yeah.
Yeah, they got excited too quickly, and it is what it is. So
You never go to any technology company, you go to their website and see a concept section of their website where you can look at all their future plans for kind of vehicles that they want to release. Like car companies do that all the time. It's very normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that it's not unrealistic to think. Sorry, that didn't come out right. So I think that we'll probably see a Hyundai vehicle with car key in the very near future, based on maybe just the same pattern of Apple is partnering with BMW. They're going to do the car, and then you see this part come out, and then you see the 5 Series come out. Because Hyundai does have, we talk about Hyundai, they do have another product line, not just Hyundai, but they have the Genesis line, where those vehicles are very premium at like 2/3 the price of. Yeah, the Genesis. Yes, so they have like the Genesis. I think it's called Genesis G70, GNES Genesis G70. G70.
Genesis USA.
Yeah, so it's
starting at 47,000.
Yeah, and they're really, really nice vehicles. I looked at the SUV, and it was more than I wanted to pay, but it's a really nice car, and they've got really, really good ratings. Like
you could tell who they're selling it to based on the fact that there's like a golf ball on the page. Like they show all these, businessmen or a guy working on a document in the back of his car because someone else is driving it or something like that. They're going for a different clientele than a traditional Hyundai. I have a Hyundai. I like my Hyundai. I have a Hyundai Elantra. It's a really good car.
Yeah, they make great cars. And who knows? Maybe, again, like we said, maybe they want to bring car key to this other set of vehicles. Because again, let's see here. I'll tell you this. Read the opening of the article. Although it shares the underpinnings with the Kia Stinger, the 2022 G70 kicks luxury quotient up a notch and proves that the Genesis brand is an incredible competitor in the entry-level luxury segment. Going head-to-head with sports sedans such as BMW 3 Series, Mercedes-Benz C-Class, requires both athletic chassis and posh cabin, two things that happen to be the G70's strength. So it's certainly not, I would say it's not necessarily unrealistic to think that there is some degree of possible partnership between Apple and Hyundai for another car key vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So along with that, the Apple rumors, the rumors for Apple glasses are getting heavier and heavier every week. Now the consensus is that Dan Riccio, who was the previous senior vice president of hardware engineering, who was promoted last week, is now leading all AR and VR development for Apple glasses. Now, this is not a product that we would see in the next, 12 months. We wouldn't see it this year for sure. It seems like, based on timing and the intensity of the rumors, it's probably something that we would see the next fall around that time frame, just based on timeline for manufacturing this. So the rumor is that these Apple glasses are going to cost $3,000. That's three with it's the number 3 with 3 zeros behind it. So they're certainly not inexpensive, but is Apple aiming for productivity? Are they aiming for entertainment? How will these be targeted towards that? It doesn't sound like a consumer product at $3,000. I can't think of more than two people who actually have the money to buy that at $3,000. Really? Holden, I guess, what are your thoughts on Apple glasses at this point?
I think the 3000 is for the mixed reality headset.
Okay.
I don't know if you have a price on the Apple Glass yet.
Okay. You're
But
right. Yeah.
yeah, I think that what you still said is true there, though. That like the mixed reality headset, I can't imagine that's a consumer device. To me, that sounds like it's going to be a development device to help make proper applications for the Apple Glass. It's the predictions here are kind of saying mixed reality headset 2022, Apple Glass coming 2023. Um, Here's, I guess, like we kind of talked a little bit in previous episodes about like what we think this will be, the utility for it, if there is a utility for it, how expensive this would be, will people buy it? But even outside of all that, this is a totally new area they're getting into, and they don't have to do the typical release comes within 2 weeks of announcement. As a matter of fact, when they do announce brand new products, Apple Watch, iPhone, kind of Apple products of that caliber, they generally come out months afterwards. Like I think Apple Watch was announced in September 2014, didn't come out till April 2015. iPhone January 2007 came out June 2007. I feel like it's possible the release for this could be we hear
Correct.
about this at the end of this year. And this is just me speculating. We hear about this at the end of this year, and they make a big point of we're not showing you the Apple Glass yet, but this is where we're going right now. We're releasing this kit for developers as like a mixed reality headset, so you can start making these applications. That way, we are ready for release with a suite of apps that are available for it. Having those apps available at launch is incredibly important for their ecosystem. It's why their products sell so well as that ecosystem. So it's possible that we see this announced much, much earlier than expected, which is a really risky move for Apple because generally they want to shorten that window for secrecy's sake, as we talked about earlier with the Apple Car. We're struggling with that right now. But like this is different than in the Apple Watch in the sense that I think it's easy for a developer to imagine, or easier, I should say, for a developer to imagine what their applications use case would be on a 1-inch screen on your wrist or a 44 millimeter 42 millimeter screen on your wrist. I think it's harder to imagine what that's going to look like when you're wearing something and projecting it onto the real world, like the interface for your app. Like I think it's so different that they need to give that extra lead up time. And I know they've been setting up the iPhone with AR for a while, and my kind of expectation was, oh, they're setting up AR for the iPhone, so developers are ready when the Apple glasses do come out. But it's so much different AR on a phone pointing around than it is AR on like physically attached to your face. I think there's just different types of AR experiences, and also I don't see many apps integrating AR in a meaningful way. I mean, there are big examples like Pokemon Go or something like that, but there's not like you're not going to open up Facebook or Twitter or an app like this and suddenly see these new AR applications that you didn't have before. So I feel like they need to set this up differently. And so my prediction is that they'll announce kind of towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, their AR ambitions, maybe not the particular product itself, and then they will release the headset for developers to utilize. And then if people want to buy it for themselves as a mixed reality headset that's compatible to Mac or whatever it ends up being, they can do that. And then the year after that, the glasses come out. One last thing, sorry, this is a long tangent. It'd be comparable to how they announced the Mac Pro. When the Mac Pro went modular, they just kind of came out and said, hey, WWDC, hey, we're working on a new Mac line. It's going to have, it's going to be thinking about the pro workflow, and they kind of talked about kind of what their goals were, but I don't think we ended up seeing the actual Mac Pro until later on in the year. Same thing with the M series chips. Hey, we have these ambitions for what we're going to do with our Mac chips. We're doing this. Here's a development kit you can get, which is that Mac Mini with the iPhone 12 Z chip in it, and then they release the actual product later on in the year. Maybe it's going to take a similar path as that.
It's a very good frame where I don't know if we've answered the question yet, and I don't mean you specifically answer the question, but like we think about this product, Apple typically doesn't do like business to business, right? Their sales, sorry, their products
Yeah.
are generally aimed at consumers. Um,
Mhm.
who is this? Who is this? Not that the final version will cost $3,000, but who is this product aimed towards, and what use cases is it? I guess, can you think of it solving? Because is it maybe? I mean, could it be television, or could it be some form of television? Yeah, sure, it could be. It could be media consumption, maybe, to generalize that a little bit more. It could be certainly gaming, right? There could be some aspect of,
Mhm.
you're playing games with this, um, but I don't know if there's that many compelling use cases, because when we talk about it, it would almost certainly have a limited battery life.
Mhm.
The majority of the processing would not be done on the unit itself. It'd be tethered to your iPhone, right? Because you want to make sure that you have that tether for where all the heavy lifting is going to be done. I, I mean, I don't know. I still don't see um, I guess, the bigger picture in terms of use cases for this.
Yeah.
I don't,
No, I,
yeah,
I agree. I don't see it either.
I think we sound
I
sad.
personally don't. Well, like when I heard about the Apple Watch, I'm like, ooh, the computer on your wrist. That was compelling to me. I was really interested in what you could do with that. I don't have that same like, ooh, text messages flying in front of my face.
Yeah,
I just don't like, and I'm sure it's gonna be more than that. I think you brought up a good point with the gaming application. Like I hadn't considered that, but you're right. Like that could be really unique where it's like a Microsoft's Illuma room and the game is expanding outside your traditional field of view of the television screen. So like you throw a bomb and the bomb ripples throughout the room. Like things like that could be really immersive and really unique. But it's kind of like the Apple Watch in the sense that it's a bunch of small things that add up to a reason to buy one, as opposed to one gigantic, this changes everything for you.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting kind of what's going to happen with this.
It is interesting. Um, it is interesting. I think I still need more pieces of the puzzle to be uh, to fall into place for to me to really believe whether, I guess, the utility and the usefulness of it. Now
Hmm.
um, I'm just not nearly as sold on it. I don't know about you, but
No, I think we're in agreement on that.
yeah, I'm a sad Apple fan right now. I'm like, I want to like it, but I just can't. I just can't. Not at this moment. Apple, give
Yeah,
us
there's just not
more.
enough information to get hyped about. I think it's just kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah,
Not to say we won't be hyped when we finally see it and we realize, oh, this is, the full scale of what this product can achieve. I certainly got very excited about Apple Watch when I first saw it, more so than I was before. Um, who knows? Yeah, but you're right though. There's too many loose puzzle pieces and too many missing pieces.
yeah. So I think that, yeah, we still need to see more about when this is going to come out. Sorry, we still need to get more information in terms of the usability and the use cases of what this problem is trying to solve. I mean, even if I think we agree that it's not going to cost $3,000, but the question is, um, even at, one third of that price, you know, uh, even at a third of that price, who is going to buy this, right? What consumer is going to buy this, and what's going to be why are they going to buy it? I just don't see it.
Yeah, yeah. People will spend $1,000 on an iPhone because it's already been proven the impact it's going to have in your life.
Yeah, and I guess what would maybe be even what would be contradictory to other products, like all the products that they've released that are adjacent to the iPhone. If you think about it, the Apple TV, Apple Watch, the AirPod, the HomePod, all those devices are far, far less expensive because they're adjunct
Mhm.
products, not products that you have to use by yourself, than than your iPhone. So if you're bringing out a device that is used, maybe not in conjunction with, is used in conjunction with, not as adjacent to, like your Mac. Like, you can use your Mac without owning an iPhone, right? And you can use those other products, but they work much better, though that is much more expensive than your iPhone. If this is supposed to be used in conjunction with your iPhone because
That's a
of
good
maybe
point.
the dependability or the attachment that's needed, it would be quite less expensive. And who knows? I was thinking about trying to pick up an Oculus, because I think Oculus right now is not the low cost leader, but the leader in that space in terms of functionality and price. Of to try to see if I can
Mhm.
pick one up. Have you done mixed reality or a VR headset?
I haven't done mixed reality, but I've done VR specifically in the Oculus. But that was the Oculus Rift and the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Go are the ones that I've used.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
And they work, yeah, they work really well. I do think that there's a future in VR in terms of an entertainment medium.
yep.
I do think that one of the obstacles that VR faces is shared experience, where right now VR is very much an individual experience. When you have a VR headset on, or I should say, when you are in the presence of someone who is wearing a VR headset, it's very strange
They're like,
to try to like communicate with them or like,
yeah,
yeah, because they're just in their own separate world. And
yeah,
very often I used to run like demos for VR headsets, to be clear. I used to very much see like people in a family coming to do a demo, and they'll say dad is in the headset and mom and the kids are trying to talk to dad, and dad just doesn't even know they're trying to talk to him. And it's not because he can't hear them. I'm sure he physically can, but he's so engrossed in like that world
yeah.
that it's almost like a barrier is formed. It's a very strange thing. So I think it's a really, really cool entertainment experiencing and is capable of doing things that other entertainment mediums can't. But that shared experience is really important, I think, to media nowadays. You talk about the water cooler moments and the kind of the family getting together to watch something, or like sports is very much a shared experience. And VR seems to kind of be contrary to that in some ways. So like I think it's really, really interesting, but I don't know, like I still have some reservations.
I definitely have reservations. Um, I don't
It's worth
think I've
trying out,
done.
to be clear though. It's definitely worth trying out.
Yeah. I do. I want to get the experience, and I will have to get one. The only thing I've done is the Google, where you take your Android phone or your iPhone and you put them inside the cardboard.
The
Um,
Daydream, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, the
like
cardboard, yeah, that's right.
that was fun. What if, I guess, well, so that would actually be, that would be interesting. What if they made a headset, but the headset wasn't something that by itself didn't, or that had these displays. You use your iPhone and you're putting your iPhone in there.
Yeah, I've thought about that. And this just might be because I was in a position of doing demos for Oculus Go, which is kind of
Mhm.
like the it's more comparable in terms of the Oculus headsets. It's more comparable to what you're talking about, the smartphone designs. And I think that the benefit of having like a standalone VR device is that VR is very power hungry and it
Hmm.
drains your phone really fast because it's just working with all the sensors. The display is incredibly important to the process. Um, Again, the processor has to process a lot of calculations for movement of your head and all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot that's happening there, and your battery will die in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people are going to want to put their phone into a device like that, and then they can't get text messages for the rest of the day because they decided to see Mount Everest
Hmm.
or
Okay.
something, some kind of experience like that.
Hmm.
So like I think
So,
that like it makes sense, but I feel like a standalone device would be more practical.
hmm. So what are, I guess, what are the sensors that they would need to have access to? The gyroscope, the display, the microphone, I would presume. Anything like you could think of, or anything else? Like what else is in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's those sensors, but it's the level of calculations that they have to do per second
Yeah.
is probably greater than it would be if like, tilting your iPhone to the side to make the web page wide instead of tall, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Like it's constantly having to process that stuff.
Okay.
And depending on the headset, like if you're talking about like a Oculus Quest, for example, or Oculus Rift, Rift S, which uses cameras built into the headset to track the movement of the world around you as you move, or how you move within relation to the world around you. It's working with all those sensors and then additional sensors, and it has to constantly compare those numbers against each other. It's just a ton of work for these devices to do. And then you put on top of that, they generally have to run at very high frame rates. That way, it's not nauseating. You generally
Hmm.
want to be higher than I'm sure you could get away with 60 frames per second, but ideally you'd want to be closer to 90, 120 frames per second so it feels as smooth as possible. Um, So you're talking about number of calculations, much higher frame per second, so which means you're increasing the number of calculations per second, and then also just high fidelity things. Do you want things to look good on top of it? So it's just a lot of processing power.
So what's interesting, it sounds like a lot of the things that you're describing, while they are in Apple's wheelhouse in terms of they have the capabilities to do that, there are
Mhm.
some things it sounds like that they are new to where you haven't seen that in an Apple product. So they have no display that is they have no display that is 4K, right? Even 8K. I don't even know if they make 8K displays that are the size of a visor, and I can't imagine how much that costs. It would have to be
Yeah.
extremely expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They don't have they don't have high frame rate refresh devices in that small of a display, though they do have it in the iPad Pro
Mhm.
in terms of high frame rate. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Usually, what the story is that Apple leverages these existing technologies that they're already good at and put them in new products. But some of these things, I guess, are net. They sound like they're net new to Apple's
Mhm.
wheelhouse.
Yeah. So there's a lot that have to go into it. And I feel like that's why this thing is apparently the mixed reality headset's gonna cost $3,000 because it's rumored to have 8K displays. And those 8K displays, to your point, are gonna have to run at very high frame rates.
Yes.
So that alone is a lot of power. And I know it'll be like a retina display for a VR headset, so there's no kind of screen door effect. But that's a lot of processing. It's a lot of processing power.
Yeah. So we were talking about before the show. 8K display sounds extremely detailed for a headset. I think the Oculus, if I'm not mistaken, it's only a 1080p display. Oculus. Oh, I
I think it's
wrong.
1440p. I
Yeah,
think,
1440, but Oculus Rift S,
which is good enough for a game.
which is
For a
good
game, I
enough.
think it's good enough. But for text, it's not even close.
No, I wonder what is the name of that's HoloLens? That's AR
Yeah,
HoloLens.
which I think that is about $3,000.
It,
I
is
think.
that actual a product that they sell?
I think they're like development kits. Like, I think you can get it, but it's not necessarily a consumer device.
See, but that's Microsoft's business model. That's where I'm a little. They're using Skype.
I'm
in
going to
this.
Microsoft site.
Yeah,
HoloLens. It says
that's what I'm
pricing
doing too.
options.
Where do you see partner support? Oh, pricing. Yeah, there you go. HoloLens
It's
2.
$3,500.
One device. I guess yeah. I guess is this a standalone device? Like, is it wireless? Is everything done inside of to pre-order
It's standalone. Yeah.
Wait. I see HoloLens Industrial Edition, $4,950.
And it has it doesn't actually say the resolution. Oh, it's 2K. It's a 2K display.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's per eye
solutions.
or if that's overall, because that's important too.
Like, it would be so cool to see the way that see what I see. They're having like the video call, but as you put it, and as it's being said right here, this is not a device that's geared towards consumers. Not because of price, but because of the use cases.
Yeah.
It would be really
The
cool.
other thing too,
Go ahead.
even outside of it, just HoloLens reminds me of this because I remember when HoloLens first coming out and the kind of the use cases they were showing for it. It's also good for like 3D modeling. So even if you're not making things for AR specifically, like you're working on the next Pixar movie, for example, would you rather sculpt out a 3D character on a 2D screen, or would you rather be able to walk around it and sculpt it as if it was really clay in front of you or something like that?
That's a good point. Good point. Like, what would be maybe a compelling use case, though I don't think it would be widely used, is the ability to provide tech support to you, Holden, and for me to see what you see. Like, okay, don't cut the blue wire, cut the red wire, right? You for bomb technicians, or you're working on your parents' computer, like, okay, now do this. That would be really interesting.
To further this idea of professional use case only, how about the Apple Pro Display XDR? That's absolutely something they sell as a professional use case only. You could buy it if you wanted to as a consumer, but it'd be absolutely ridiculous to do so. I think at least like I would never recommend an average consumer buy that. But it's not because it's a great display. It's because its use case is very specifically tailored towards a professional environment. Maybe this is the same thing.
I guess you're right. That is probably the only example in recent times where Apple went instead of going up market. Well, I mean, not recent, I guess let me just say that again. That's probably the only example that I could think of in recent times where Apple is starting at the absolute high end and working their way down
Yeah.
for pro device, because that certainly is. That's a good point, Holden. Good point. Seat pricing and options. Arm and a leg. Arm and a leg, and a kidney. Okay. Yeah, so I am certainly interested in learning more about this Oculus Rift. Holden, anything else you want to add today?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Holden, where can everyone find you?
I am at Respawn Aim Fire, which is a video game podcast a weekly video game podcast. I'm also just on Twitter at Holden DePardo.
Holden, thank you very much for joining me today. Everyone, we'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks very much.